In the dead silence of the drawing room, Zoya's eyes remained frozen on the antique mirror. The mirror wasn't just glass anymore. It held memories. Hamad, standing beside her, finally broke the silence. This mirror. I saw someone in it last night, but it wasn't a reflection. Zoya turned sharply. You saw her too? Who? She hesitated. Razia Kala. The air suddenly felt colder. The walls themselves seemed to inhale. Just then, a faint voice echoed from the corridor. Apkodik Gaya Muje? They rushed out. No one. A photo frame lay face down near the stairs. Zoya picked it up. It was a wedding picture. Old, torn, but still vivid. A woman in bridal red stood next to a man, her face eerily similar to Zoya's. Later that night, Zoya couldn't sleep. She sat on the bed with the frame in her lap. Hamad entered with tea. She's not just a story, is she? Zoya nodded. She was married into this house. No one talks about it. My mother avoids the topic, but this picture. FunnyFun Paybe comments. Aithes mirror ke simpar. People noticed the shadow. Hamad sat beside her. Then, let them help. Let's document it. Tell the story. Maybe that's what she wants. Just as he said that, the wardrobe door creaked open slowly. Both stared. Inside was a dusty old diary with initials engraved. R. Zoya opened the diary. The first line read, "They buried my voice, but not my truth." Zoya opened the diary. The first line read, "They buried my voice, but not my truth." The diary pages were yellow and brittle, but every word bled pain. Hamad read aloud. I, Razia Rubab, was forced into silence the day I became a bride in this house. My screams were woven into the curtains, my prayers drowned beneath the water tank. Zoya whispered, "She's not just haunting, she's hurting." Suddenly, the lights flickered. A gust of wind flipped through the pages. One page stood still, dated 27th August. It read, "The night of fire, the night I was locked in the storage, the night they all watched and stayed quiet." Zoya and Hamad exchanged looks. "Storage room," they said in unison. They rushed downstairs. Behind the kitchen, an old padlocked door waited. As they approached, the padlock snapped open on its own. The room was filled with old cloth, half-burnt belongings, and a charred red bridal dupatta hanging from a nail. Zoya's hand trembled. She reached out, but Hamad pulled her back. "Let's record this. This isn't just about us anymore." Zoya looked straight into Hamad's phone camera and said, "If anyone out there has heard of Razia Rubab, come forward, comment, message, help us tell her story." On screen, as they uploaded to FunnyFun, the dupatta behind them slowly lifted, as if being worn by someone invisible. The video went viral overnight. Thousands of viewers on FunnyFun commented, "I saw her in the mirror too. She looks like Zoya." This story gave me chills. Zoya scrolled through the feedback, stunned. One comment stood out. "My grandmother knew Razia. She once told me Razia wasn't the only one." That shook her. At breakfast, Zoya showed the comment to Hamad. "We need to find this person." But before they could message back, a call came in from a hidden number. Zoya answered. A trembling old woman's voice whispered, "Razia ki kahani surfek raz nahi, ek katlahai. Udupata jala nahi tha, kisi niu se jalayatha." Click. The call ended. Zoya dropped the phone. Hamad caught it midair. "We're not dealing with just spirits anymore. This might involve murder." Suddenly, the diary flipped open again on its own. Another page. There was another girl. Younger. Louder. She tried to run. They stopped her forever. A knock on the door interrupted them. It was an envelope. No sender. Inside, a black and white photo of two brides. Both looked like Zoya. Curious what's buried deeper? You know what to do. FunnyFun isn't just a channel. It's a voice for the voiceless. Like if you felt the chills. Comment if you have clues. Subscribe if you're ready to open locked doors. Asma's heartbeat echoed in her ears louder than any scream ever could. Zoya held the camera like a torch of truth, the red recording light blinking like a countdown to destruction. Apke rahi, thike main bolon, Main botihun, Fufi. Main botihun. Zoya's voice was calm, too calm. Hamad, standing behind the camera, nodded. We'll just send this video to FunnyFun. Our Baki, Log, Kud, Fazla, Karline. Asma's hand shot out like a snake. Tumhi sharam nahinati? Garkibat, Kodunya, ke samne rakhoge. Sharam to tabani chahiye. Jab apne sab kuch chupaya, Fufi. Hamad's voice was low, but there was steel in it. Razia Kala, sitting in the corner, whispered something like a prayer. Her face was pale. But before Zoya could say more, there was a loud bang on the front gate. Everyone froze. A second bang, then a voice. Male. Sharp. Desperate. Zoya. Zoya. Darwaza Kolo. Main Hun. Bilal. Zoya's fingers loosened from the camera. Bilal? Razia Kala blinked in confusion. Wo to? Dubai Gaya tha. Asma's entire body jerked like a puppet whose strings had been yanked. Hamad ran to the window, peeked through the curtains and paled. He's not alone. Du aurad mi hindsath. Zoya slowly walked to the door. Each step thudded like a drum beat. She opened the door, and there he was. Bilal. Her supposed cousin. Her once fiancé. He looked older, darker, like guilt had soaked into his skin. Zoya, muhe andaraane du. Please. Mein sab kuch batane ayahun. Wo video. Wo hakikat. Muhe sab yad hai. Asma let out a gasp behind them. Bilal chup ho ja matbo. But it was too late. Bilal stepped inside and said the words that no one had expected. Zoya, you are not my cousin. We are not blood. My mother, she lied to you. And she lied to me too. Dead. Silence. Razia Kala's hands trembled. Zoya, mujhe andarane du. Please. Mein sab kuch batane. Ayahun. Wo video. Wo hakikat. Mujhe sab yad hai. Asma let out a gasp behind them. Bilal, chup ho ja, mat bowl. But it was too late. Bilal stepped inside and said the words that no one had expected. Zoya, you are not my cousin. We are not blood. My mother, she lied to you. And she lied to me too. Dead. Silence. Razia Kala's hands trembled. Zoya, muhe andarane du. Please. Mein sab kuch batane ayahun. Wo video. Wo hakikat. Muhe sab yad hai. Asma let out a gasp behind them. Bilal. Chup ho ja. Mat bowl. But it was too late. Bilal stepped inside and said the words that no one had expected. Zoya, you are not my cousin. We are not blood. My mother, she lied to you. And she lied to me too. Dead. Silence. Razia Kala's hands trembled. Tojo nikahowada. Wojut nahida. Zoya's voice broke. No, it was real, but it was erased, fabricated, hidden, and now it's coming back. Zoya turned toward the camera. Still recording. Hamad quietly zoomed in on her face. And Zoya whispered, FunnyFun, yesachai. Or observe ap hieska fazla karenj. If you felt that chill, then like the truth. Think you know what Asma did next? Comment your theory. Want to know where this chaos leads? Subscribe to FunnyFun Secrets Don't Wait. The room felt like it had inhaled and forgotten how to exhale. Razia Kala's lips quivered. Yes, Ab. Kab sajuth mein ji rahe hein home. Zoya stumbled back, her mind swirling in a storm of disbelief and betrayal. The video was still recording, the red light blinking like a silent witness. Asma suddenly charged toward Bilal. Chup ho jao tum dono. Tumhare baton se meri izat kayanaza nikal gaya hai. But Bilal stood his ground. Fufi, आपने मेरी माँ को कहने पर जोया की जिंदगी से खेला. अब वक्त आ गया है कि सब कुछ सामने आए. झूठ, आसमा shrieked. मैंने तुम दोनों के लिए सब कुछ किया. हरिहुद बोला, हर राज छुपाया सिर्फ इसलिए कि तुम लोग बर्बाद ना हो. Zoya snapped. Her voice rose, hoarse and furious. Barbari to ho gayi, Fufi. Aapke razon ne meri zindagi jala di. Asma's eyes burned with rage, and she lunged toward the camera. Crack. The camera hit the floor. The lens cracked. The recording stopped. Hamad leapt forward. Zoya, mein backup bana rahatha. Cloudpar upload hogaya high. Zoya exhaled shakily, knees weakening. She dropped onto the floor, staring into nothingness. Bilal crouched beside her. Zoya, mein valpasis lia aya hun mein sapgur sutar sakun. Mein huth mein nayi na shata. Before she could answer, a sharp buzz echoed from Hamad's phone. He glanced at it, and his face changed color. Kisi ne wa video already leak kardia. FunnyFun kapaje, pe 5-minute pele. Upload ho gayithi. Viral ho rahi, hai. Asma shrieked again. Nahin. Muhe banam karne ka plan da tum sabka. Main police ko bulangi. But just then, the lights went out. Total darkness. A soft rhythmic knock came from the back door. Knock. 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 Everyone froze. Zoya's whisper trembled in the dark. Yay, kan hai. And a voice replied through the wooden door, calm, slow, almost hypnotic. Main hoon. Whoa, Raz. Jisko tum sa bul gatha. Silence stretched like a wire, about to snap. Asma's face turned ash white, and her lips moved, but no words came out. She stumbled backward, knocking over a brass vase. Ye sab jutai, she finally shrieked, pointing at Bilal. Inhon tumhara di maakara apkar diya hai. But Bilal didn't flinch. He walked further into the living room, his steps heavy with something more than regret. Mujhe pata hai aap. Sab kya soch rahe hain, he said, his eyes scanning each face Razia Kala, who clutched her dupatta like armor. Hamad, whose hands tightened on the camera. And Zoya, who looked like her entire world had shifted 3 feet to the left. Meri ma ne muhe bakhpan se hutmaim pala, Bilal said quietly. Zoya komer cousin ke kar, lekin asal main. Zoya ekanathi. Meri ma ne muhe bakhpan se hutmaim pala, Bilal said quietly. Zoya komer cousin ke kar, lekin asal main. Zoya ekanathi. Asma fufinu usay sif istamal kia. Bas garo. Asma's voice cracked. Wo kaksad mera bas hain, Bilal said, pulling out a worn envelope. Birth records. Adoption papers. Zoya ka asal ma bab ka naam by likha hai. Zoya reached for the envelope with shaking hands. Asma lunged forward to snatch it, but Razia Kala stood up, blocking her. Kafi ho gaya Asma, she said, her voice surprisingly steady. Har gar mein raz hote hain. Magar har raz chupaya nahi ja sakta. Zoya slowly unfolded the papers. Her eyes moved across the faded ink, each word like a thunderclap. And then, a photo slipped out. A baby girl, swaddled in a pale pink cloth, lying in the arms of a woman Zoya had never seen before, and yet somehow recognized. Mujiad hai, Zoya murmured. Wo hwab, wo chera. Asma turned and bolted toward the stairs. But Hamad moved fast. He blocked her path. Khan yagai hain fufi. Aapko bhi ye video dekhni chahiye. He turned the camera's screen toward her playback rolling. Asma's face twisted with fury. Tum sab mujhe barbad karna chate ho. No, Zoya said softly. Hum surf sach chate hain. Asma's shoulders sagged. In a voice barely audible, she whispered. Wo meri bihanti. Zoya ki asli ma. Asne mujhe kaha. The agar kucho jaito. Zoya ka khayal rakhun. Tears spilled from her eyes. Zoya rushed to her. Kala. Pani. Mujhe. Pani du. Razia whispered. Bilal ran to the kitchen, while Hamad lowered the camera for a moment. Asma sat down, hands shaking. Wo sab kuch tut jayega garye video bahar gaya. Zoya's voice was steady. Fear to tutna zaruri hai. Just then, a phone rang. Everyone froze again. Asma looked at the screen and her face turned white. Abu. Zoya narrowed her eyes. Yani abu ko bhi pata hai? Asma's voice trembled. Unko kuch nahi pata. Unko mat batao. Please. But Zoya didn't answer. She walked toward Hamad. Record dobra, on Karo. He lifted the camera. The red light blinked on. Zoya faced it. Main Zoya hun, aur main apni pehchaan ki janglad rahi hun. FunnyFun. Agar tum sun rahe ho, toh sah ka safar main mera saato. Bang! A loud thump came from upstairs. Everyone looked up. Razia Kala clutched Zoya's hand. Upar koi hai. Bilal frowned. Upar to koi nahi ona chahiye. Another bang. Louder, Asma gasped, stood up, and screamed, Nahi! Wo nahi! Zoya stared at her. Kya chupa rahi ho, Fufi? The camera caught her face drenched in sweat and fear, and then a woman's voice echoed from upstairs. Zoya! Mary Betty! Zoya's blood ran cold. Ami? Hamad whispered. Zoya! Tumhari ami to. Mar chuki thi, the voice again. Mujhe zinda hala dia gaya tha. Everyone turned toward the staircase, and the screen faded to black. If that voice gave you goosebumps, like this episode now. Parfir, mujhe lagne laga ka agar logon ko ye pata chala ka Zoya surfek. Gawandi ki bati hai, to hamari izzat. Hamari khandani sha'an, fir apni mujhe jut mein pane dia. Zoya said. Not angry, just tired. Asma sank into the sofa, like the truth had crushed her bones. Zoya stood silently, the adoption papers in one hand, and her identity in the other. Main Kanhun? She asked the air, but the air had no answers. Hamad stepped forward. Tumo hoyosakh kasam nakar sakti hai. Allah kisi bhi khandan se zyada azim hota hai. The past has spoken, but the future, that's still unwritten. What secret do you think Asma still hides? Subscribe to FunnyFun, because these walls, they still whisper. The night didn't breathe it, held its breath. Asma backed away from Bilal like she had seen a ghost. Her eyes darted between the camera, Zoya, and the door. Yes, sab yud hai, Bilal. Tu ye kisna kaha ke tu ye sabola? Kisna beja tu ye? Bilal looked at her, and then at Zoya. Mein khudaya hun. Mujhe sakh kaboy sans lene, nahin de rahata. Zoya turned to Asma. Aapke rahi, thike, ye gar ka mamla hai. Lekin jab gar hi jut pe kara ho, to sach kis ka mamla hota hai. Asma's lips quivered. Maine sab kuch tumhare liye kiya. Tumhare liye ya apne liye. Hamad cut in, camera still rolling. Zoya ko surfek nam chahiye da. Aur tum ne usse ek juta rishta de dia. Suddenly, Razia Kala groaned. Her head dropped forward. Asma's knees buckled. She stumbled back, gripping the edge of the table like it was her last anchor to reality. Na hin, ye sab jut hai. Ye sab meri izat komiti my milane ki sazish hai. She screamed, pointing at Bilal as if he were a ghost from her buried sins. But Bilal didn't flinch. His voice, once hesitant, now rang clear. Auntie, aapko abhi bhi apni izzat ki parwah hai. Par Zoya ka kya? Uska bakpan. Uski yadein. Sab kuch ek hoota. Zoya didn't move. Her face was pale, eyes locked on Asma's trembling figure. Razia Kala's sobs broke the silence. Asma, kyun kya tumne ye sab? Allah ka kauf bina hin raha tumhe. Asma's eyes darted to the camera still recording. Band Karo ye camera, she yelled, but Hamad stepped in front of it, shielding it like a soldier. Apni kitni zindagi anjut ki andhare mein chupa di. Absakh roshni banega. Zoya finally found her voice. It was hoarse. Mujhe sabatao. Harbat. Abi. Bilal looked around. Yahan nahin. Main sab kuch bataunga. Lekin pehle ya samajh lo. Tumhara naam, tumhari pehchaan, tumhara rishte, sab kuch ek kahani thi, jo kisi aur na likhi thi. Asma screamed again. This time it wasn't anger, it was fear. Suddenly, the electricity flickered and went out. Complete darkness swallowed the room. Someone gasped. Then, in the shadows, a whisper. Whoa, wapas agaya. Zoya turned, startled. Kya? A low chuckle echoed through the dark. Ozma screamed again. This time it wasn't anger, it was fear. Suddenly, the electricity flickered and went out. Complete darkness swallowed the room, someone gasped. Then, in the shadows, a whisper. Whoa, wapa zagaya. Zoya turned, startled. Kya? A low chuckle echoed through the dark. It wasn't Bilal. It wasn't Hamid. It wasn't Razia. It came from the staircase. Step by step by step, a shadow emerged, soaked in rain, eyes glowing unnaturally. It was Wakar, but he was supposed to be dead. Zoya turned the phone screen toward Ozma, but instead of an explosion, there was a silent shock. Ozma's eyes shifted from surprise to fury to a strange kind of panic. This is all fake, she yelled, standing up abruptly. Zoya didn't flinch. She simply said, then look into the camera and say that. FunnyFun's thousands of viewers are watching. Tell them it's all fake. Ozma's breathing grew heavy, her chest rising and falling, like waves crashing against a rocky shore. Hamid stayed quiet, the camera still rolling. Then Ozma whispered something that made the room freeze. I was the one who burned that little diary, the one Adil used to write in. Zoya's heart skipped a beat. Hamid quickly zoomed in. Repeat that. I said I burned it, Ozma screamed. I was tired of carrying everyone else's lies on my back. But what could I do? I was alone. For a moment, Zoya saw something unexpected in Ozma's eyes. Not just guilt, but exhaustion. The house was wrapped in a strange unease that night. Faiza sat by the window, her eyes fixed outside, where wind rustled the old neem tree. Her mind, though, wasn't with the tree, but with what she had just discovered. She had found it. A hidden diary in the old steel trunk, buried under folded linens in Zoya's room. It wasn't Zoya's handwriting. It was Amber's. The first few pages chilled her spine. I thought I was marrying a man who would save me from this house, but instead, I became its prisoner. They said it was love, but love doesn't look like bruises under your hijab. Faiza's heart pounded. Every word felt like a whisper from the grave. Suddenly, a loud knock. Faiza! Saba's voice came from the corridor. Zoya is not in her room. The diary slipped from Faiza's hands. Meanwhile, in the back courtyard, a faint light flickered. Zoya sat under the old clothesline, her eyes fixed on the moon, her fingers running over something in her lap, a rusted locket that didn't belong to her. Behind her, a figure slowly emerged from the shadows. Zoya, said a familiar voice. You shouldn't have found that. She turned. It was Maruk, but her face, her eyes didn't hold fear anymore. They held intent. Want to uncover the truth behind Amber's diary? Got theories? Comment now, FunnyFun reads them all. Like suspense like this? Then like, share, and subscribe to FunnyFun, because this secret, it's just getting started. Maruk stood in front of Zoya like a shadow with a pulse, her face pale but her eyes gleaming with something unreadable grief, guilt, or madness. You weren't supposed to find that locket, she whispered. Zoya looked up, gripping the rusted pendant in her palm. Whose is it? It doesn't belong to anyone in this house. It belonged to Amber, Maruk replied, her voice trembling. The real Amber. Zoya's heart skipped. The real Amber? What are you saying? Maruk glanced over her shoulder, as if the walls themselves might be listening. Not the one Faizan married. The one he was supposed to marry before she disappeared. Zoya blinked. Wait, Amber didn't die in a car crash. That's what everyone told me. Maruk let out a hollow laugh. No, Zoya, that was a lie spread by them. She vanished from this house 1 week before the wedding, and no one ever looked for her. They just replaced her. Inside the house, Faiza clutched the diary tightly to her chest as she walked into the storeroom where she'd found it. She checked the steel trunk again empty. She ran her fingers along its bottom, tapping the base, a hollow echo. She grabbed a screwdriver. Saba came in, panting. Zoya is still missing. And I found something. In the old mirror in the corridor, someone etched, "She never left behind the glass." Faiza paused. What do you mean? I mean, Saba whispered, maybe Amber never left this house at all. Crack! Faiza broke open the base of the trunk. Remaining silent over the truth is equal to lying. Back in the courtyard, Zoya still faced Mahrukh. "Where is Amber now?" Zoya asked. Mahrukh's eyes welled up. "She never left, Zoya. She's buried here, under the neem tree you sit beneath every afternoon." Zoya froze. "You think this house is cursed because of some black magic?" "No, it's cursed because this ground is soaked in betrayal." She knew something. Something about Faizan, about his past. They said she was unstable, that she imagined things. Zoya stood, trembling. Mahrukh continued. "But what if she was telling the truth?" That night, as a storm rolled in, the women of the house, Faiza, Saba, Zoya, and Mahrukh gathered in the central hall. The diary lay open. The chadar was placed like evidence, and Faiza held the envelope. "Do you want to open it now?" Zoya asked. Faiza nodded. Inside, they found Polaroid photographs, grainy, old, but horrifying. A younger Faizan, with a woman none of them recognized, and another picture, Faizan and their maid, the one who'd gone missing a decade ago. "What is this?" Saba whispered. Faiza stood. "This is proof that Amber wasn't the only woman who vanished around Faizan." Zoya's eyes darted to the main door, and just then, a key turned in the lock. He was home. The buried secrets are clawing their way out, and Faizan doesn't know what's waiting for him inside. A dim light flickered in the corner of the corridor, casting long shadows on the worn-out wallpaper. The house wasn't just old, it breathed with secrets. In Zoya's room, she sat cross-legged on the bed, holding the dusty diary she had found earlier behind the prayer shelf. Her fingers trembled as she flipped through the pages, each entry more disturbing than the last. The handwriting wasn't hers. It belonged to her late aunt, the one everyone said had died of fever. But fever didn't write in trembling words. "He warned me. He said if I ever told anyone, he would bury me beneath the old neem tree." Zoya's lips went dry. That neem tree still stood in the backyard. Downstairs, a sudden crash broke the silence. Zoya jolted. She wasn't alone. Footsteps low, deliberate, climbing up the stairs. She quickly slid the diary under her pillow and stood, heart pounding. As the door creaked open, she froze. It was Aman, but something about him was different. His eyes avoided hers. His voice was low. "Zoya, we need to talk about your aunt." Zoya's voice was barely a whisper. "You knew her?" Aman nodded. "More than you think. And she didn't die of fever." They both stared. The voice outside her door came instantly, almost as if summoned by the page. "Zoya." She clutched Aman's hand. He whispered, "Don't answer. It's not real." But the voice came again. "Zoya, open the door. It's Mare. Please, I need help." Zoya moved toward the door instinctively. Aman grabbed her wrist. "That's not your sister." The doorknob rattled. Zoya whispered, "Then what is it?" Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. Who's behind the door? Who killed the aunt? And what lies under the floorboards? Don't blink now. This tale is only getting darker. Like and subscribe to FunnyFun so you don't miss the real nightmare next. The darkness in Zoya's room wasn't just the absence of light, it was alive, heavy, watching. Zoya froze mid-step. The door that rattled seconds ago had gone still. Aman's grip on her wrist was firm, trembling slightly. "Stay away from that door," he whispered. Suddenly, a scratching sound started. Slow, deliberate, as if nails were clawing from the other side. Then came the voice again. "Zoya, why are you scared of your own sister? You opened the door for me once. Open it again." Zoya covered her ears. "That's not Mayhair." Aman lit a matchstick, its feeble glow throwing monstrous shadows on the walls. Zoya whispered, "It knows what we're doing. It's watching." Aman turned to her. "We need to find that floorboard. The diary said the truth is underneath." They dropped to the wooden floor. Aman knocked gently. Aman sat on the edge of Zoya's bed, his hands clasped tightly as if holding something back, not just words, but a truth too dangerous to speak aloud. Zoya stood by the window, staring into the dark sky, lightning casting brief flashes across her face. "She didn't die of fever," Aman finally said. "She was murdered." Zoya turned slowly. "By who?" Aman looked up at her, pain in his eyes. by someone in this house. A silence heavier than thunder filled the room. Zoya took a step forward. You knew her. She was my cousin, he whispered. My mother's niece. She came to live here after her parents died. And she saw something she shouldn't have. Zoya's hands clenched. What did she see? Aman's voice dropped lower. She found out about the hidden room, about what goes on there. Late at night, the chants, the screams. Zoya's breath caught, and she tried to expose it, Aman said. But she disappeared before she could. Outside, a dog howled. The wind picked up. Zoya sat slowly, the bed creaking beneath her. I read her diary. She mentioned someone. He, who threatened her. Aman nodded. I think I know who it was, but I need proof. Zoya whispered. Who? Just then, the room lights flickered violently. The diary under her pillow burst open by itself, pages flapping wildly until one stopped right in the middle. The ink looked freshly written. It read, Zoya, the truth is under the floorboards. Don't trust the voice that calls your name at night. Listening. Tap, 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 thud. There, he said. This one's hollow. He used a steel ruler from her drawer and began prying the plank open. It cracked with a groan, like it was resisting. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was an old cassette tape and a blood-stained scarf. Zoya's heart pounded. That's my aunt's scarf. She was wearing it the night she vanished. The cassette had a label. Confession, do not destroy. They looked at each other. Aman ran to his room and brought back a tape recorder from his father's old study. The cassette slid in. Click. A man's voice crackled through. This is my last message. I've done terrible things, but I didn't act alone. She knew. She saw the ritual. She heard the chant. I tried to warn her, but then he said she must disappear. For the family's safety. I buried her under the rose garden. I still hear her scream in my dreams. Forgive me. If anyone finds this, leave this house. It's cursed. The tape stopped. Zoya's hand flew to her mouth. The rose garden, Aman whispered. And the voice. It wasn't her. It was him. The one doing the rituals. The one controlling everything. Just then, the door slammed open. Zoya screamed, but there was no one there. Just a gust of icy wind and muddy rose petals blown into the room from nowhere. Aman muttered, We're not safe anymore. Zoya stood, trembling. Then let's dig. If she's under the rose garden, we have to find her. We have to free her. Aman looked terrified. Do you know what that means? Zoya nodded. It means we're going to war with the dead. That night, the moon hung low and swollen like a bruised eye, casting silver light over the wilting rose garden. Zoya gripped the rusted shovel in both hands, her breath visible in the unnatural cold. Aman stood beside her, flashlight in one hand, fear in the other. No turning back now, she whispered. With the first dig, the ground released a foul stench as if the earth itself had been suffocating for years. They dug in silence. Each strike of the shovel brought out more rotten petals, worm-ridden soil, and something strange. Cloth. A faded dupatta corner. Blue. Stained. Zoya's breath hitched. That's it. Aman helped clear the dirt faster now, hands shaking. Then suddenly, his shovel hit something hard. Thunk. They crouched, brushing away mud. A wooden box. No, a coffin. It was cracked in one corner. Zoya hesitated. Should we open it? Aman swallowed. We came this far. He wedged the crowbar under the lid. Kriak. Inside lay the skeletal remains of a woman. Long strands of hair still clung to her skull. A golden anklet, rusted but intact, shimmered under the flashlight. Zoya gasped. That anklet! It belonged to my Aunt Farida. She disappeared before I was born. Everyone said she eloped. A folded note lay over the ribs. Zoya opened it with trembling hands. It read, I saw him. I saw what he did to Meher. He chants in the attic at midnight, wearing her veil. He says she will live again through sacrifice, through blood. If I disappear, no, it wasn't my choice. Suddenly, the wind roared. The roses shook violently. Then Zoya turned around. A figure stood at the edge of the garden, veiled in red, face hidden, just like the drawings in the diary, just like the whispers, just like her. Zoya whispered, "Aunt Farida?" The figure didn't move. Then, in a low, distorted voice, "You found me." But now, he knows. The figure dissolved into a swarm of black moths that rushed past them in a chilling spiral. Zoya screamed and dropped the note. The flashlight flickered. Then the house lights came on by themselves. From the attic window, a flicker of fire, a shadow pacing. And then, the chanting began. "Lahu, Sakhtar, Nehruan, Mayor." Aman pulled Zoya back. "He's awake. Whoever he is, he knows we've disturbed the seal." Zoya turned to him, eyes wide. "I think the real horror is still inside the house." The rose garden fell silent again. But the house? It was just getting started. Unmarked graves, blood-stained chants, and veiled ghosts. Who is chanting Meher's name in the attic? And who is he? Subscribe now to Secrets Under the Unveiled Roof only on FunnyFun. The door that should never open. Jab fareda ne wo purani kitab kholi. Tu hawa main. Aika jib. Sisar sarahat file gai. Pages pe like lafson ka matlab mushkil. Da magar ek jumla barbar aa raha. Da us darwaze ko mat khona yahan andere ne vada toda. There was effect in Meher's eyes. She was feeling something so deeply that Farida got scared just by looking at her face. "Are you okay?" Farida asked. "Farida, I think this is not just a book. It is the secret of our family." There was a tremor in Meher's voice. At the same time, a shouting sound came from below Safiya's. She ran down. In the drawing room, Safiya's hand was trembling. She was holding up a picture, an old family photo in which a face was blurred, but something else was visible in the blurred area, a shadow. What is behind Meher?" Safiya asked with a painful look. There was something strange in the picture. Maybe that shadow had passed or was imprisoned. But one thing was clear. That shadow was related to Meher. Under the roof attic. Opened for the last time. Meher, Farida, and Safiya, the three of them together, opened the lock of the attic. The door cried out. Inside darkness, cold air, and a box in which there was a handwritten diary. If you're reading this, then it means that you have made the same mistake that I made. Razia Begum Farida closed the diary nervously. "That was my grandmother's name. And this is her house." Meher opened the diary again. The diary read, "I made a mistake. I opened the door where that shadow was imprisoned. That night, my daughter went missing. She was never found. But I know she's here. Every night, in front of me, without a face. The shadow of the picture, the shadow of the diary, the scream of the attic, everything was part of the same story. That shadow had returned again. And this time, it didn't just want to watch, it wanted a body." Suddenly, the light went out. Total darkness, only the mobile torch. Safiya shouted, "Meher, where are you?" Meher's voice came, but it didn't sound like her at all. She was humming. "Don't open that door." Farida picked up the torch and saw. Meher was staring blankly at the diary in the corner of the attic, as if she had remembered something, or as if she wasn't Meher at all. Suddenly, lights back. Meher was conscious, but in her eyes was the same shadow. Safiya said, "He has come inside." Farida understood. He doesn't want to touch Meher. That is Meher. The door behind the attic, which always remained closed, opened on its own. The door opens and shows a mirror in front. In the mirror, Farida, Safiya, and Meher are standing. But in the mirror, there is another face with Meher, exactly like her, but blood in the eyes, a mask on the face, and the same diary in hand. Meher says slowly, "Now she is not inside. Main Hoon. Some secrets should never be revealed. Not every door is worth opening. And sometimes, the face we think is ours actually belongs to someone else." Dear friends, if you like this suspenseful part, then definitely like, share. Oh, and write in the comment, what is the secret of Meher? And if you want to keep getting more stories like this, subscribe to the FunnyFun channel now, otherwise you'll miss the next episode.